Staggering, just staggering. Silva, Checo scores! 4 minutes to save themselves! 4 minutes to find their crown!
Very lovely good afternoon, good evening, good morning, depending on what time of the day you are watching this podcast. This is Ralph Onva, where football's biggest moment goes under review. As you already know, or if you are new to the channel, kindly subscribe, put us on post notification, and like this content. So whenever a content drops, you become privileged to be the first person to see it. On this channel, we do football banter, post-game and pre-game analysis. And on this episode, we are going to look at the results that came out in the Premier League from last week. We'll also look at the Champions League draw that was made today, as well as predictions into game week 28, I guess, for the Premier League. So without much ado, last week there were some games that didn't really go the way of some of the big teams. In the Premier League, the first game of the day was on Saturday. There was the game between Aston Villa and then Leeds United, and that game ended in a stalemate 1-1 between Aston Villa and then Leeds United. We were expecting Aston Villa to win that game, but unfortunately for them, they couldn't collect all the 3 points, even though they were playing at the Villa Park. There was that game between Brighton and Hove Albion, who were traveling away from home, playing against Brentford, and they went away to win against Brentford by 2-0, and that was also a surprising result for most football lovers if you follow the game. There was the game between Chelsea and then Burnley. I did predict that Chelsea were going to win the game because Chelsea players had enough rest. They were given about a week of rest whilst other players were training. The Chelsea players had enough rest, but they couldn't win that game. They drew by 1-1. They started the game very well. As early as the 4th minute, they scored a goal, and then I think complacency set in, and this is the second game running for Liam Rossignol where he has dropped points from a winning position, and that is not good for Chelsea because when you look at the results of the day, Aston Villa did lose their game. So if they were able to at least get a win in that game, they will have a chance of getting in the top 4. But unfortunately for Chelsea, as a Chelsea fan, we couldn't win that game, and I was very I didn't feel good about that. And there was the game between West Ham United and AFC Bournemouth, which I did predict a draw for in that game, and that game truly ended in a draw between AFC Bournemouth and then West Ham United. There was that game between Manchester City and then Newcastle United. So Manchester City were playing at home at the Etihad against Newcastle United, who were the travelers. And Newcastle, I predicted in that game that it's going to be a win for Manchester City because Newcastle United haven't been able to win a game at the Etihad for quite some years now, and also Newcastle United prior to that game had played in the Champions League, so I believe that the players were tired and they were going into that game fatigued, and truly Man City had to push through because it was a close score, 2-1. O'Reilly scored both goals for them and they won that game, and they are keeping the title chase on for us now. And then on Sunday there was a game between Crystal Palace and then Wolverhampton Wanderers. So Wolverhampton Wanderers traveled away from home. They got a red card in that game and they lost that game by a lone goal, and I predicted Crystal Palace to win that game, but I was expecting a much more bigger scoreline than that, but they won by 1-0. And there was Nottingham Forest with a new manager, but they did lose that game at home against Liverpool, and Liverpool got a win. There was Sunderland playing at home to Fulham. I did predict a draw in that game, but Sunderland were not able to amass all the points at home. And then finally there was the Tottenham Hotspur game against Arsenal, which I also did predict that Tottenham Hotspur were going to win the game, but unfortunately they couldn't win the game. They were playing at home, and they had a new manager, as well as they were battling relegation. So I thought that all the factors being considered will be a boosting factor for them to at least get a result in this game. But Arsenal have really shown that they are true title contenders, and then they won that game by 4-1. And then the last game was on Monday. That was some few days ago, where in that game, Manchester United went away to Everton to win against Everton by a lone goal, and that puts Manchester United in the riding seat when it comes to qualifying for the Champions League next season, because now they are, I think, 2 points ahead of Chelsea, and that puts them in the riding seat. And let's quickly look at the draw for the Champions League, the games that will be coming up. So there have been some there will be some interesting and cagey encounters that will be played in the round of 16 in the Champions League. There is PSG playing against Chelsea. The first leg is going to be at Paris. So PSG, that's going to be a return of the Club World Cup final. And I guess I guess PSG are going into this game with a mindset of a revenge, because they lost that game woefully or painfully to Chelsea by 3-0, and they are coming into this game having that mindset that they are going to revenge the loss that they had against Chelsea. So that's going to be a very cagey encounter. If I am to stick my neck out, I will go for over the both legs. I think that because Chelsea will be playing at home in the second leg, Chelsea will have the edge, a slight edge over PSG. So not just because I'm a Chelsea fan, but if I put my biasness away, I think that Chelsea should be able to edge it past PSG, because when it comes to knockout football, Chelsea are the best. And whenever you are the right, or you don't you think that Chelsea is not going to show up, that is where they show up. So I think Chelsea is going to make it to the next round. That is the quarterfinal. And there is Galatasaray playing against Liverpool. These two teams played in the Champions League, the group stage earlier on, and then Liverpool did lose to Galatasaray, and this time around they are playing again. And if Liverpool are to play like how they are still playing now, even though the second leg is going to be at Anfield, I don't think Liverpool will be able to edge it past Galatasaray. Galatasaray has a ton of experienced players, and some of these players have played in the Premier League, the likes of Gundogan, Eke Gundogan, Leroy Sané, and also the prolific striker Osimhen. He's also banging in the goal. So I'm going to go for Galatasaray qualifying to the next round. There's also a game between Real Madrid and Manchester City. So that's also a very intriguing encounter. And these are two big teams. These are teams that have won before. But yes, when it comes to pedigree, there's no way you can compare Manchester City to that of Real Madrid. And this season, it hasn't been too good for both teams. Both teams are sitting second on the log of their respective leagues. And in terms of pedigree, yes, Madrid is there, so you can never write Madrid off. Even with their current form, you can never write them off. But Manchester City is also being coached by a very good manager in the person of Pep Guardiola. So this is a wide open game. I don't know who is going to qualify to the next stage. Anyone at all can qualify. Depends on how the players are going to show up on the game day. And there is also Atlanta playing at home to Bayern Munich. So Atlanta eliminated Borussia Dortmund in the last stage, in the knockout stage, and this time around they are facing the league leaders in Germany. And I think that Atlanta, yes, they are able to turn things around when they are playing at home, but this time around they are playing the first leg at home and then traveling to Munich to go and face Bayern. So it's going to be very difficult for them. If only they are able to get a very convincing win at home, then probably they can travel to Munich and then at least lose by not a big margin and qualify. But I think all things are pointing to the fact that Bayern Munich are going to qualify for the next round. And there is also the game between Newcastle United and Barcelona. I'm straight up going for Barcelona making it to the next round. And then there is Atletico Madrid against Tottenham Hotspurs. And these two teams this season, I say you cannot even tell who is performing badly. Even though Atletico Madrid, they are at least in the top 4 of the La Liga. But, these two teams, you don't know when you can even count on them. When you are counting on them, that is where they let you down. So this also a game or a fixture that I think it depends on who is going to show up. So I don't know who is really going to qualify, whether it's going to be Atletico Madrid or it's going to be Tottenham Hotspur. I don't know who is really going to qualify. And then the surprise package of the Champions League, Bodo Glimt, who have been giant killers, they have been giant slayers. They've scored the likes of Atletico Madrid, they scored Inter Milan home and away, they did score Manchester City as well. Yes, they are playing against Sporting CP, and if they are able to get a very convincing win at home, then it's game done for Sporting CP, because they also do well when they go away. You can testify for the game they played against Inter Milan. And then finally, there's a game between Bayern Leverkusen and then Arsenal. So that game, straight up, I'm going for Arsenal to qualify onto the next round. Okay, so let's quickly delve into the games that we have coming in the coming week in the Premier League. Already there has been a game that has been played already, which is the game between Wolverhampton Wanderers and then Aston Villa. So Wolverhampton Wanderers, though they are I would say they have been relegated, even though mathematically they are still in the chase for survival. I think that they have been relegated, but this is with the time that they are picking up points, and strangely they were able to beat Aston Villa at home by 2-0, and they won that game today. Tomorrow there are some games that are happening in the Premier League as well. There's a game between AFC Bournemouth and then Sunderland. Straight up, I'm going for an AFC Bournemouth win, because now when you look at the league table, they are part of the top 10. They are 9th on the table, and you can see there's a resurgence happening at AFC Bournemouth. So they are playing at the Vitality. Burnley, who caused a stir in the last game against Chelsea, are playing at home to Brentford. Brentford are good when they travel away. Last time they lost at home and to Brighton and Hove Albion. So I think that they will be going into this game trying to at least redeem themselves and get a win in this game. There's that game between Liverpool and then West Ham United, and Nuno Espirito Santo, I believe, will be looking at least getting a draw in this game, and at least making the surviving in the Premier League. So I'm going for a draw in that game. There's that game between Newcastle United and Everton. I think that game will also end in a draw. There's a game between Leeds United and Manchester City, and Manchester City have no other option than to be winning all their games from now, because if they want to win the Premier League, then they shouldn't be dropping points. Even draws are not going to be accepted by their fans. So if I am to predict, I'll straightly go for a win for Manchester City away to Leeds United. And then on Sunday, there is a game between Brighton and Hove Albion and then Nottingham Forest. And I think Brighton and Hove Albion are going to win this game. It's looking like Nottingham Forest will be joining the teams at the bottom and then be relegated this season. There's Fulham playing at home to Tottenham Hotspur, and that's a London derby. Tottenham Hotspur have a new manager, and they disappointed me in their last game against Arsenal. I thought that at least they'll be able to get at least a draw in that game. And Fulham with Marco Silva, he's a manager that is pragmatic. He's a manager that knows his job. When it comes to player profiling and all that, he does it very well, and he plays a high tempo type of football. So I see them winning at home at Fulham. And there is the Manchester United game against Crystal Palace. So Manchester United are on a resurgence. They've won their past few games since the arrival of Michael Carrick and Steve Holland. So I'm going to go for a win for Manchester United. And finally, the game of the week is Arsenal playing against Chelsea. Yes, my own very Chelsea. Can they stop Arsenal from winning the league? It all lies in the hands of Liam Rossignol and his boys. Can the likes of Enzo Fernandez, Cole Palmer, and Reece James, who have been declared fit for this game, show up on a day like this? And I think on a day like this, if my heart is telling me that yes, Chelsea is going to win, but in my head, if I'm to put all biasness away, if I'm to be not to be someone who is playing that favoritism game, then I'll say that game will end in a draw, because Chelsea wouldn't want to drop points again against Arsenal, because already Liam Rossignol has played 2 games against Arsenal and he has lost both games. So he will not be going into this game thinking that he's going to drop points again. Worst case scenario, at least he should get a draw, and I think his boys will be pumped up getting a draw at least in this game. This is where we're going to draw the curtains on Ralph on VAR. There's a very short one because we are limited with time and we'll have to rush on to something else. Thank you very much for watching. This is Ralph on VAR, where football's biggest moment goes under review. If you are new, kindly subscribe, put us on post notification, and like this content so that we can grow the channel. Thank you for watching.
Truly